when I was actually starting, I remember I used to go to every seminar and get to know people to make sure that I find a good wing for myself. Because as you know, doing this by yourself is like one of the hardest things you can do. You know, so if you work together, it's much easier. Use other people's experience. Yeah. Okay, so the agenda for today is what I want to do is compress the interaction. So let's say a 10-minute interaction you have with a girl on the street or, I don't know, in like a coffee shop or something. And just explain, go into really detail, because most of you are my clients. I've probably explained what you need to do. But today's just going to be about a little bit more into detail, talking about mindset as well. Like, for example, before the open, what do you do, you know, to get yourself in the right state? Because you'd probably think everything happens in the interaction, but it's actually, I would say, like 80% is before you say hello to that girl. You know, that's where you win or lose. So imagine you just see that very attractive girl in the street. If you were, that day, if you were just on the computer for the whole day, and now you're approaching her, compared to if you just done 20 approaches, you know, and you had a lot of like fun, you press your bottom to get yourself into the right state. Now guess what? When you approach her, it's going to be very different. So number one is before the open. I feel like a lecturer. Before the open. So as I said, 80% of it happens before the open. Now I don't mean just what you do that day specifically. I'm talking about what you've done for the last 6 months, what you've done for the last month, what you've done for the last year, or last 2 years, or whatever. All that mounts up to when you go up to her, you're going to be very different if you've been, I don't know, approaching every day for the last month, or you haven't. So vibe building. Why is this important? You might say, oh, if I just say the right lines, she should be able to be attracted to me, right? You might say that. If I just say like a great push-pull, you know, and she'll be like, oh, yeah, just let's go, I want to fuck you now. But it doesn't work like that, as you know, because it's not about the line. It's about the non-verbals. And how do you improve your non-verbals is exactly what I'm going to talk about now, before the open, right? So what I want to do, just before I explain that, I want to do, because this is going to be like interactive, so you guys are going to contribute as well. I know some of you had like work and you're tired and stuff. I remember when I used to go to seminars and they were like, all right, let's do interactive now. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like I had 3 hours sleep. I was so tired. And next, last one?
I think you're feeling bad.
Yeah. All right, good. Oh, well, at least we got one right. All right, so the point of this game was for you to see that you can read other people's emotion. I mean, I know it didn't go as planned. But guess what? Girls, they are 10 times more tuned into stuff like that because they have to be. Because they don't have the muscles as us. They don't have the, you know what I mean? So they needed to become really good at that. Especially, I was reading this book. So when they were growing up, you know, as a boy, when you're growing up, you don't really care. You just do whatever the fuck you want. Whereas girls, they look at the mom's facial expression, in order to see if what they're doing is correct or not. And that's why they're going to be much more tuned to your emotions. So whatever you feel in that moment, she's going to be able to read that off of you. Now, why is this important? Because this goes back to before the open. So what you do that day, that month, that year, goes into your approach. So when you're approaching her, what you're feeling, right? She's going to be able to tell that off of you. So this is why vibe building is so important. Okay? Now, what do we do for vibe building? Number one, you need to do a really good warm-up. Warm-up is you know, like an athlete, right? I grew up in sports. We never go into a match without a warm-up. And that should be the same when you're speaking to girls. I know sometimes it's not possible because maybe you're just doing an hour session and you're like, oh, if I do a 30-minute warm-up, then I have to go home after. So you're warm at home. Like watching the TV, you're like, yeah, I'm in state. Yeah, so the warm-up. Now what you do in the warm-up? The warm-up should be very playful, something where you don't care about the outcome. Just think about your favorite sport, right? Tennis, football, whatever. When you're warming up, do you really care if you do the best shot in the world? Or do you just do it like just get in the flow? It's just like, all right, I'm just getting warmed up, right? And this is what people in game don't do. They go out and they do one approach, right? And they're like, oh shit, that went really bad, all right, I'm off. And they go, no, it's not even a joke, it's actually true. They do one approach. I mean, some of you might have done it. You know, we're making a joke out of it. But what you need to do, instead, you need to have a set warm-up plan. So you say, okay, everybody's different, by the way. I do like a 10 approach warm-up, especially when I haven't done anything for a week. It just depends on your job. If you're a salesman, all you need is probably, you might not even need a warm-up because you've been talking to like 50 guys that day, or girls, depending on what you're selling, right? Yeah. But if you're like a software developer, or I don't know, a job where it's just like you haven't spoken to anyone that day, guess what? You're gonna need a longer warm-up, right? So you need to find yourself the best warm-up strategy. But a couple things I would recommend is, number one, judge. Yeah, so number one, do not judge yourself. Why is that important? You've just been on a computer, right? You haven't approached anyone, you haven't spoke to anyone, and now you come out, your first approach you do, you're gonna judge yourself. What's that gonna do to your vibe building, right? What's it gonna go? It's gonna go down, no? Like, what do you expect for yourself to do? You know, even the most social guy, if he hasn't been talking throughout that day, he's not gonna like do an SDO on the first approach, right? I mean, it could happen, but 99.9% of the time it's not gonna happen. So don't judge yourself, because guess what? The more you judge yourself, the more your vibe goes down in the warm-up. So usually what I suggest is that you just go in to get rejected. I know that sounds like, oh, why would I do that? Like, am I gay or something? You know, but it's just a little mindset that makes you go in. So when you're in there and you're talking to her, you might not want to reject. That's just something you use as to get in there. All right, anyway, let's move past that. Number two, this is actually probably the most important part of the warm-up, is to make sure you have fun. And fun for everybody is different. Some people like to really take it to the extreme. Some people, they don't. Some people just want to do a few jokes here and there. It just depends on your comfort zone in terms of like how far do you want to take it. But you should be taking a little bit more further than you would in a proper interaction. You know, if it, huh?
Like trolling.
Exactly, trolling, like a prank. Yeah. Number three, this actually goes into the fun, is social freedom exercises. How long ago? Social freedom exercises. Yeah, so a lot of people go against this for whatever reason, I have no idea. People say, oh no, that's for beginners, this and that. Even to this day, I'm still doing it. It's like, you're on the street, this is probably the most known one, you just start clapping. Other one is, I really like to do, is I go like that. Every time I'm walking past like a busy station like Victoria, I go like that, and I put my tongue out. For some reason, that really like makes me laugh. Other ones, actually, you probably know a lot of these. Press-ups, like in the middle of Oxford Street. One time I did it, this girl started taking pictures of me. This like random guy, he had like a Turkish accent. He was like 101, 102. And I was like, oh shit, like I started having like this energy, like out of nowhere. It's probably like, I don't know, 30 or something. And he was like 101, 102. Yeah, because what it is, people want to have fun, right? I remember another time, I had one of my clients, you know in Leicester Square, where there's like a seating, you know like opposite Empire Casino, they have this stone bit where you can sit down. I got him to stand up like that with one leg for like 2 minutes. And then these two other guys, they went and joined him, like out of nowhere. And it was just like, it's amazing, because people want to have fun, you know? Social freedom. So these are a couple exercises. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I would not do these exercises like near your work, like on a lunch break or something. Like your boss is going past you like, hi boss. So yeah, do these in like tourist areas. Piccadilly Circus, Leicester Square. Like I've done these exercises, no one's ever seen me, that people I know. Because it's just like you do in a tourist area, right? Even people that, even if they know you, unless you're doing something very extreme, they're gonna find it funny as well, you know? So warm up, fun, social freedom. And the last one is quantity. So you've all probably familiar with mass approaching, right? It's not a good game. For warm up, it's incredible. The more you approach, the more you're gonna get warmed up, right? It's not really about the quality in the warm up. It's not about, okay, if I say the best like tease, doesn't matter. Because your end goal is not even to get her, it's just for you to get in the right vibe, right? And by the way, the warm-up is not gonna take like 3 hours. You guys are probably thinking, shit, that's a lot of things to do. So I need to do like a 6-hour session to get really, no. Depending on like what you've done that day or that week, this could be done in 30 minutes, you know? Like this one, the social freedom, I don't even put like a special time to it. I just do it as I'm going about my day. Like you're in the tube or something, and you just want to do something funny. And like, you know what I mean? You're like, all right, what can I do here that will make it awkward? Because that's what the exercise is. It makes it a little bit awkward. Because guess what? If you can handle the awkwardness with like a lot of people, talking to a girl is not going to be anything difficult for you.